This video was paid for by the fine folks at Huawei. H-U-A-W-E-I. That's how you pronounce it, Huawei. I know this because they actually took me to China a few years ago. That's a whole nother story altogether. I've even gone all the way to Winnipeg, Manitoba to review the Huawei P9. I liked it so much. And so they asked if I'd take a look at the Matebook D14. And I said, sure, I love Huawei phones, do them all the time. Turns out, it's a laptop. That's it right there. And it's a pretty interesting laptop at that. And I'm not just talking about the specs, also talking about the price. But my real question here is what my moody preteen daughter is gonna think. She's been wanting a metal gray laptop of some sort for a while now. Let's see what she thinks about this. All right, boys and girls, let's start where we always do, the basics. Look, the Matebook D14 is decidedly not at the top end of the Matebook line, okay? That belongs very firmly to the Matebook X Pro, which is pretty awesome. But this one runs $600, and for that you get a 14-inch display at 1080p resolution, you get an AMD Ryzen 5 processor, 8 gigs of RAM, and a 256 gig SSD. Now it weighs just under 3.5 pounds, so it's not tiny, and it has a 57.4 watt-hour battery. Now, how long that lasts depends on what you're trying to do with this thing, of course. We'll talk more about that in a second. Now, there's no Windows Hello for the camera, and that's kind of too bad, especially because there's no fingerprint sensor here either. There's been a little confusion about that. This model does not have one. Now, on the left-hand side, we have a USB-C port. That's for power or whatever other USB-C stuff you want to do. There's also USB-A and HDMI. Now on the right-hand side, you've got a headphone jack, and another USB port. You've also got speakers on top of the deck here and also on the bottom. We'll talk more about those in a second too. Otherwise, that's it. You know, so my bar for laptops is actually set pretty high, I like to think. And that's especially if we're talking about a $600 laptop like we are here. But I tell you, I was really surprised by the keyboard. It's surprisingly good considering, again, a $600 laptop. Just enough travel in the keys here to keep my fingers pretty happy. And I was also pretty surprised by the trackpad. I didn't really have any complaints. I could totally use this for long periods of time. And the speakers are where things get really cool, okay? We have two upward facing speakers on the top, and underneath it you've got more speakers. Now what's the deal with that? Now again, surprising for a $600 machine, it has Dolby Atmos built in. And if you haven't experienced Atmos before, think of it almost like 360 degrees of surround sound. So instead of sound coming at you from one direction or another, they can place objects up in space and up in the air. And you absolutely can tell that with the Matebook D14. It's a really cool feature to have and a little surprising to see on a $600 machine like this. So the screen resolution, only 1080p. That's a little disappointing, but on the other hand, also not surprising for, as I keep saying, a $600 laptop. I prefer higher resolution, but for something like this, it makes sense. And you know, different tools for different jobs, right? This is the sort of laptop I would buy for basic internet-y stuff. I mean, a college kid, maybe a kid getting ready to go to high school in a year or two, right? But for basic interneting and something that honestly doesn't look horrible at all, I think it's gonna do you pretty well. Hey, maybe you know how you've been asking me for a shiny metal gray laptop for Christmas this year?
Yeah. Like
that's all you've wanted?
Yeah.
That's part of all you've wanted. You wanted more than that. I have one. You want to play with it?
Sure.
All right. All right. So what do you like about this when you first see it? Because you've never really seen this before or touched it before.
It's a touchscreen.
Yeah.
So that's nice, I guess.
You don't even want to know what she's typing right now. Oh, that's awful. Oh.
The keys are like farther apart, so it's harder to type.
Yeah.
Like, they're bigger.
Well, that's like a grown-up keyboard, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. This is bigger than like the Chromebooks they give you at school.
Yeah.
So it's easier to type on. It's got a sticker on it.
Yeah.
So Isabella, what's your favorite kind of computer? Or do you even know all the different kinds of computers at this point?
No.
No? Do you even care? Like, as long as they all do the same things, is that what makes you happy?
Yeah, sort of, because I don't know many kinds. I know the Chromebook and the Mac.
Mm-hmm. All right, this is a Windows machine. Is this the first time you've ever used one?
Mm-hmm.
What looks different?
That it has a power button right there.
Oh,
and
yeah.
It has some of these keys are a little different.
Yeah? But they all do pretty much the same thing, right? Like, what is your favorite thing to do on a computer?
Watch Pat and Jen.
Watch Pat and Jen. All right, let's watch Pat and Jen. Is that all you pretty much do on computers is watch YouTube?
Yeah.
So that's it for the Matebook D14. My bottom line, I think you can guess what it is by now, right? Now it's really pretty impressive for a mid-range Windows machine. You buy this thing knowing that it's gonna be a mid-range device, right? And that you're only really gonna be doing internet-y type stuff. Don't be editing video, don't really do any hardcore gaming on this, but for everyday just email and browsing and stuff, it's gonna work really well. And you know what? Maybe having Dolby Atmos on board makes up for it. It's a really cool feature, and it's something you just have to hear for yourself. I could talk about it all day, not the same thing as actually experiencing it. So if you have any more questions on the Huawei Matebook D14, fire them down below in the comments or hit me up on the socials, Twitter, all that stuff. Be sure to subscribe to the Modern Dad channel if you haven't already and hit the notification bell thing. I forget where they put it these days. That way you can see all the videos coming up. We got a lot of cool stuff on the way. Thanks for watching. See you next time.